Hey, Shalom, Kol Halor, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai Bashim, Chachodash, the ones and apostles of great millstone, and Shalom to you brothers in the highways and byways, doing the work sincerely and faithfully and continually fighting the good fight of faith, Lord willing, we're finding that number to be delivered. All right. So as of a couple of days, I've been just thinking about, stressing about bills and, when she's gonna get paid, how she's gonna get paid, and you know how that shit goes. When you start going through it, all the weight of this kingdom kind of falls on your shoulders. And so I said, the next best thing to get into is to start reading, getting into the Comforter, and I had come across Isaiah the 52nd chapter, and in reading Isaiah the 52nd, as I got down to the bottom of that chapter, how quickly your worries, melt away and vanish away when you start reading about the things that men have gone through, what the Lord has gone through. It makes your worries in this kingdom seem very insignificant. And the water Yahweh Shai for giving us the ability to have this, these words, these comforting words to, bring us back into, the spirit. All right. So again, this lesson is based off of some things you've been told and the things that the scriptures actually say. All right. So in other words, there's some discrepancies out here in this world, in this kingdom, that definitely need to be rectified. All right. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
The latest on findings being published in a new book out today on the Shroud of Turin. That's the linen cloth believed to bear Jesus's imprint as he was being prepared for burial. And now there's new research that may disprove the claim of people who've said it's an elaborate fake. ABC's Paula Ferris is here now with the latest. Paula.
And it is rare that we get a glimpse of the Shroud. The Shroud of Turin, one of the rarest pieces of history, will be on display this weekend in a special televised viewing on Italian state TV Saturday. The exclusive screening is said to be Pope Benedict XVI's parting gift to the Catholic Church. This weekend, for the first time in 40 years, billions of people will be getting a rare televised glimpse at one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, the Shroud of Turin. Millions believe this to be the image of Jesus, rarely on display. The shroud will be on TV and in the palm of your hand. And now, coming on the heels of Good Friday, new life is being breathed into the Shroud of Turin. Just this.
All right, so I'm not going to go too far on that. But the Shroud of Turin. Okay? So now, the Shroud of Turin is to believe is the shroud that was covering, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I'm going to say it that way in this term. All right? But you who are in the know, you know what we're talking about. And as you look at it, as we have here on the screen, it depicts the body of a man from head to toe, facial image in the whole nine. All right, facial image in the whole nine. So better yet, let's see if we can get a quote. There it is. There, you see that facial image? That's what the depiction is. All right, and now you can clearly see the two eyes, the nose, the mouth, the mustache, and I guess these light spots up on the top of his head I believe is supposed to be blood trickling down. All right. So these were the images that were contained in the shroud, right? These were the images that were contained in the shroud. Front side here, back side up top. So now, the amount of people that truly believe that this is authentic is beyond belief. All right. So let's go to the scriptures and see what the scripture says about this very same linen. All right. And we're going to take it a couple steps further as well. So I'm going to start at John, book of John. Okay. So let's start at about verse 6 and just get right to the point, because in the beginning of this, Mary Magdalene, had went down to the sepulchre and witnessed a couple things, went back, told the disciples, and here we are, verse 6. And it says, Then cometh Simon Peter following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seeth the linen clothes lie. Okay, now these are the very same linen clothes that they're speaking of in the Shroud of Turin. All right, and then it says, in the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen cloths, but not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. All right, now just that right there alone, okay, debunks this Shroud of Turin. And why is that? Because clearly, let's just hop to it again real quick. Clearly, they have one piece depicting the front and back side of the Lord, okay, all together. Now, even just using very common sense, as you look at this, it's asymmetrical. So once you flip it and fold it, the sides of this cloth has picked up perfectly the imprints from top to bottom and front and back, if you will. All right. When you lie underneath the cover, you're not going to get that asymmetrical, perfect, imagery, if you will. All right. But not only that, the key point is this. Verse 7, and it says, in the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Okay, so now we have two objects here. We have the linen that was wrapped around his body, and the napkin that was wrapped about his head. All right, so it's amazing how these so-called biblical scholars can promote such an idea when the scriptures clearly tell you. Now, if they had said, all right, here's the shroud that was wrapped around his body, and here's the linen napkin that was upon his head, fine, they'd have a leg to stand on. But seeing that they used this theory with one linen cloth, if you will, to depict the Lord front and back, it just don't have. It's unbelievable. You can't believe this. All right, but let's take it a step further. Right. Let me go from there. Let me jump down a little bit more. All right. Matter of fact, let me go here first. All right. Okay. This is Isaiah 52, and I'm going to get right to the points in verse 13. Now check this out. It says, behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. Verse 14, as many were astonied at thee, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than any of the sons of men. All right, so that's the point. Let's go back and break some of these words down. Verse 14, it says, and as many were astonied. What does that mean, to be astonied? Let's check it out. Going to the search of the word. Definition of astonied, adjective, filled with emotional impact of almost overwhelming surprise or shock. Overwhelming surprise or shock. So when people saw the Lord during the crucifixion, why were they surprised and shocked? Why? Because it says they were astonied at thee, at the Lord. Why? Well, let's read on. And it says his visage. Well, let's check out that word visage. Search it. Okay, visage. Let me go up. Let me see. French word meaning face. All right. I thought there'd be a little more to the word. Let's see what it says here. It says the face, the countenance or appearance of a person or sometimes an animal. All right. So it's talking about his face. They were shocked and astonied and surprised at his face. Why were they shocked and astonied or surprised at his face? Okay. So let's continue on. And it says his visage was so marred. Now, what does the word marred mean? Search it. It says impaired to the appearance of disfigured. Okay? His face was disfigured. This is why they were stonied in shock and awe when they saw the Lord's appearance, man. He was unrecognizable. And how do we know that? Let's check it out. How do we know that? Because it says his visage was so marred, was so disfigured more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. Okay? So this is what happened to the Lord, and this is what he looked like when the masses saw him. Let me get that word astonied again. Let me get that again. Okay? Definition of astonied. Filled with emotional impact of overwhelming surprise or shock. You ever see something that kind of just totally takes you off guard? You're like, oh shit, what the hell? This is what is being explained right here. But usually when you get surprised like that, there's really no true emotional connection to it. But in this case, because it was the Lord, and when they saw what he looked like, he was totally disfigured, man. He was unrecognizable. Totally unrecognizable. So the point being made with that, right? Now, let's go back. Let's go back to the shroud. Okay? Even on the shroud itself, you can clearly see a man's face that isn't disfigured, that isn't unrecognizable. The scripture said he was so marred. Unlike any man, the natural look of a man's face would be what we see here. But a man's face who's been marred and disfigured to the point where he's unrecognizable, this doesn't fit it, man. This shit don't fit it. Okay? And this is why, man. This is why. One of the reasons why, man, the Lord got to come back and straighten shit out. Because this is going too goddamn far in this kingdom. All right, so let's go on a little bit further. All right, where we at here? What's this here? Yeah, we can go here. We can go to Zechariah. Okay, Zechariah. Hold on, let me hold that off. Let me hold that for last. Okay, this is John 20. Let me jump down to about to John 20, well, 24. About 24, I believe it is. Yeah, right. All right, so here we go. Now, keep it in mind, right? And where I'm going with this is, when they told Thomas about the Lord, Thomas didn't believe. And now I believe I understand why Thomas, his doubt was so heavy, because of the way the Lord looked during the time when all that went down. And let's listen to what Thomas says. All right, let's start at verse 24. It says, "But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. Why did he say that? Because we know the Lord had done many different things, many different miracles, right? But because what Thomas had saw and what he had witnessed, he was like, that can't be the Lord. Whoever you're talking about can't be the Lord. I seen what they did to him. Okay? And it's not written that way, but extrapolating the information that we have, this is why he said he didn't believe. I believe this is why he said, I don't believe it's him. I seen what he looked like before he gave up the spirit. There's no way he can come back from that. From what? Him being marred so bad he was unrecognizable. So Thomas said, unless I see him, I put my hands on the wounds and truly look upon him, then I'll believe. So reading 26 on down, it says, And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, Peace be unto you. Then said he to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my power. Okay? So again, going back to what Esau says went down, all right? This ain't nowhere near biblical, man. Nor is the picture biblical, because the scriptures tell you the description of the Lord. But not only that, even after his crucifixion, you know, there was 2 pieces of clothing, or articles of clothing, if you will, not just one. You see? Now we're going to finish it off with Zechariah, 12th chapter, going down to starting at about the 10th. And this is to be true, man. I mean, the Lord is going to do some things that we all are going to see. All right? And it says, verse 10, and it says, And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. What's he talking about? It's talking about that body. The Lord's going to preserve his body that we may look upon it and see it. Because with these eyes, we can't even begin to come to a true rationale of how bad he looks, man. How badly marred he was. So he's going to preserve that so these eyes can look upon it, man. These eyes that we have now are going to look upon it. Okay? And it says, And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son. Okay? I've always made the statement, there's no greater loss than the loss of a son. And the mournings that a man or a woman will you know, exercise themselves with when that son has been lost. Okay? The Lord said we're going to have that same feeling when we look upon him, man. And it says, And shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. Okay? It says, verse 11, In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadad-Ramon in the valley of Megiddon. Right? Salaki on the pronunciation of them words, but this is going back to the mournings that we did for Josiah during that time period when he was wounded and died. So the Lord is giving that kind of that little reference of how bad the mourning is going to be. Verse 12. And the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, the wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, and the family of Shimei apart, and their wives apart, and all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. Okay? So the Lord is going to preserve that body, and we're going to see it. Now, that movie, The Passion of the Christ. Now, I never seen that movie. A lot of brothers have seen it. I've never seen it. For some reason, I just decided, I don't know, I just didn't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I'm gonna wait. But anyway, but I believe from what I'm told, they did a good job with the scenery, But from what I'm told, if that can get close to what the scriptures depicted, then that's what it is. But this nonsense that we got going on here, this foolery and this is just pure nonsense, man. Pure. One dude said he'll give $1 million if anybody can debunk this. So in other words, he believes that it's rock solid, and many other people believe it's rock solid. But all that being said, I'm going to end it with that. I just want to bring out these quick key points concerning the basic truth about the depiction of Yahushua in the time of the crucifixion, and when he was wrapped in the shroud, and what lied upon his face, the napkin that was upon his face, that again was set aside as it was written. Okay? Where are we at here? Hold on 1 second here. Let me go back. Let me go back to verse 7. Just to give you a little, some more understanding. It says, and the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Not one piece. Not one piece. All right. So all that being said, Lord willing, there was a little edification brought out concerning this nonsense about the shroud of Turin. And it can, we know who's behind all this. And they're totally contrary to what the Bible's about and the word of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua is. Totally contrary. So Lord willing, I'll see y'all another show. I say shalom for now.